Well, hello there. Oh, froggy voice. Welcome to our midweek Q&A.
Terry's getting froggy.
And Josh said that Terry is getting froggy.
Them Terry's is getting froggy.
Froggy. This is kind of our laid-back Q&A hangout sesh that we do midweek. We've got a couple talking points and some things to talk about. That's the same thing. I just said the same thing twice in two different ways. I mansplained myself.
You did it.
Yep.
Cool. Well, so we're going to talk about a couple things. We're going to talk about a show that we have coming up, a streaming show that's a special show aside from our routine Sunday streams. We have a special one coming up on Saturday we're going to talk about. And we're also going to talk a little bit about our song learning process, because we've been taking requests and we thought it might be cool to share with you guys what happens after you send a request in, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. We'll take a couple minutes and see who's in chat there. I see a couple of folks in there. Say hi. Let us know you're in there, and it's not just mirroring our own devices that are logged on.
I mean, even if it is.
I mean, that's cool
fine.
too.
I'll
That's
talk
fine.
to myself all day.
Yeah. Internal monologue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of the agenda for today. And as always, Wednesdays are Q&A and live requests. So if you want to, we would love to be interrupted with a good question, because we have a bit of material obviously to talk about, so that we, if we don't get any questions, we still have something to broadcast.
Mom's here.
Mom, hey Mom, how are you? And we take live requests. So if you request a song that we happen to know or we think we can figure out on the spot, we do
Who's
that too.
that from Denton, Texas?
Oh,
Or Rish
Who's-
Chic? Tell me who you are.
who is that? Username
Hello to Denton,
with
Texas.
clearly a 1981 birth date from Denton, Texas. Cool. Well, hey.
All right.
Should we start?
Yeah, let's get started. So we've been asking for requests for our Sunday streaming shows, which we throw a few in there every Sunday. And it's Aaron. Hi, Aaron. So good to have you here.
Hey,
I
Aaron.
miss you. So we've been getting requests. We've been asking for requests and getting them for our Sunday streaming shows. And we kind of wanted to just go through the process of what it is to pick up one of those and try to learn it and figure out how to do it. Acoustic, duo, just the two of us. Not that song, because we do that song. Last week, we got a couple requests that we thought were kind of interesting. Oh, my shakers and stuff over there. I'll grab them. I don't know. How do you want to start with? Let me grab my shaker.
You want to talk about that one, the Billie Eilish tune?
Yeah.
Cool. So this last week we got a request from Team Jola, that's your official name now, for a Billie Eilish song called Ocean Eyes. And
Sorry.
it's the one
Okay.
if you want to just sing a couple of bars of that, it's the one that goes like this.
I've been watching for some time. Can't stop staring at those ocean eyes.
It's that one. So we
I'm scared.
so we got a request for that song, and like most Billie Eilish tunes, it's really interesting. It's really cool. And so what happens when we get a request like that, or if we're deciding to learn any new songs? I mean, the first thing to do is obviously to listen to the song a few times.
Mm-hmm.
So,
If we don't know it, yeah.
yeah. So or if if it's a song maybe we've listened to a lot, it's different. When you're passively listening to a song versus studying it, it's a different kind of listening.
Right. Because you're listening for what things you want to grab to kind of capture that song and what the trademarks are of that sound and how to do that, either with what you have available right now, because we're stuck at home with whatever we've got in the house.
Yeah.
This thing.
Yeah. So
And that thing.
and this thing. So usually the first thing
The song's played too much, yeah. Which is funny because we didn't know that song. I mean, I
Right,
like
yeah.
Billie Eilish, but I know a few of her songs, but I really didn't know that one until it was requested. So it was totally new to us.
Yeah, right, and it still serves a pretty good example for how. I mean, if it's played so much, you're probably very familiar with
Right,
with it. So
right.
so one of the I mean, the first thing is we'll spin the song, we'll put it on Spotify or something, and we'll start listening to it together usually, and start picking out and humming along, like you might at home when you hear a song, you'd hum along with it. That we're doing this. So we'll start singing the melody. We don't know the words. And start getting the contour of the melody in your head. And I'm sitting down with the guitar and picking out the chords. And so we do that a few times, and then, so layer one is just kind of learning kind of how the song goes broadly, what the chords are, what the melody is, and to some extent what the words are, even though we're reading them for the first few passes. But that's just kind of the first layer, right? Knowing what the basics are, the underlying harmony, the chords, is just one tiny part of what that song is, and the melody and lyrics, obviously. The next phase is sort of starting to explore what makes that song sound like that song. The rhythmic elements, what are the idiosyncrasies of, what are all the instruments doing? So this is a great example, too, because we were just talking about how, so Team Jola sent us this song, and Joe, who is one half of Team Jola, for reference, sent us the acoustic version that Billie and her brother did as like a kind of like a, here's what you guys are, this is your format, so clearly this is a reference that is going to make the most sense.
Right.
And that's cool, that's really cool, but it's not necessarily a part of our process because when we listen to the song, we're going to spin probably the record version of it first and out elements that we hear. There may be a synth line,
right,
a horn line, a keyboard. There may be something that some the percussion instruments are doing. There's all kinds of things happening in any given song, and we're listening to all of those. By the time we've got the song in our head and kind of know how it goes, we're starting to pull out details.
Right, to capture the feeling even if we don't have that instrument or that thing, And I mean, for me, percussion-wise, it's like what's important here that Josh can't cover percussion-wise on the guitar, because the guitar can also be a percussion instrument if you play it a certain way, but if he can't capture a certain beat, then I'll try to go like, okay, what does this need on percussion? That song didn't really need anything when we did it.
Right.
I want to say I did really want to capture that. So that song, well, a lot of her stuff that she does is real delicate and breathy. And my voice, sometimes I tend to sing very loud and like aggressive. But I wanted to capture the delicacy of that song and try to make it my own without just, copying what she was doing, which was really cool and interesting. Especially on the chorus. I mean, if you want to just do the, there's a couple ways I could have approached it, right? So she goes, no fair. You really know how to make me cry when you give me those ocean eyes. So I could have, my instincts is to sing it a little more aggressive, if you want to, no fair. You really know how to make me cry when you give me those ocean eyes, which that song doesn't really do well. It doesn't serve the song to kind of that way. But I found a balance in between. I did the delicate version on the first chorus and then kind of brought it up a little bit and then brought it back down because that song it doesn't ever go anywhere big vocally. So I kind of wanted to keep with also make it my own. So that was kind of how I approached the vocal part of that. Mm-hmm. And Josh
I'm not doing a whole lot on that song except the vocally, except just the harmonies in the chorus. So really my main role in that song is to make sure that the atmosphere is supporting the vocal. And And part of, I mean, the acoustic track was really cool. It was really cool to see how they did it. But I mostly was taking my cues from the record.
Right.
And the thing is, you could play that song, right? Like you could go. Sorry. And in fact, I think this is kind of the approach. I mean, I'm being a little bit blunt with it. But to me, I mean, that's, you could sort of strum these big open blocked out chords that way, and that's one way to approach it. To me, I wanted to create that ambient space that you hear on the record and give more of a rhythmic element to that song, because it really does drive forward. And so that's where... So I'm voicing, not only am I voicing those chords differently, but I'm actually I'm using a technique called palm muting, where that generates that kind of sound. So instead of going, if I palm mute, it kind of shortens the duration of those notes and it creates more space around them. And then I lean into the pick attack a little bit. And so you can hear that rhythm is kind of syncopated. 1 and 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 4. That's the main. So I'm catching all those strong beats, right. and while because that ocean eyes is on those strong beats. So that's kind of where my approach to that comes from. You're listening to all the elements of the song and trying to summarize them really with limited equipment.
Yeah, so that's how we approach that song, which is a little bit, every song is different, right? When you haven't heard it, you kind of go through the process of figuring it out and then figuring out how to approach it. Another request we got last Sunday was Back Pocket, which we used to do as a trio and as a full band, but we hadn't ever done it as a duo because there's a lot happening, and it was really hard for us to wrap our minds around how to capture all that with just the two of us. But it was a really fun challenge. You used to play in a totally different way. You kind of had to relearn that whole part. Yeah,
so we used to do this a lot as a trio with Davey. Those of you who are friends or followed King Taylor Project, you know Davey Rocket. And we did a lot of touring and playing with Davey for over the span of about 3 years. And it was an electric trio format. So it was Sandy doing all the things that she normally does, but I was on electric guitar and Davey would play electric bass. And that was kind of our gigging format. And that's when we first started covering this song. And so in that format, I'm functioning a little bit more like a guitar player does in a band context, which when I do play in a full band, it's a whole other approach. I'm not typically voicing big block chords. I'm voicing like...
You want to play a little bit?
Yeah. So here's how the song goes as we do it as an acoustic duo. 1, 2, 3.
Oh yeah, I know that it's taken me all this time to see, girl. I'm so it's taken me all this time to see, girl. Tiptoe, and I want to ignite the stick, girl. Oh, and I hope that you know it's not too late. Put it in my pocket, put it in my pocket, in my back pocket, put it in my pocket, in my pocket, in my back pocket. And I'll put it in my pocket, put it in
Yeah, so when we do that song as an acoustic duo, we're generating everything that we can. I'm trying to approximate the bass line or parts of it, so that. I mean, that's a simplified version of the bass line, but I have the best I can do with like one thumb allocated to it and the root of the chords that I'm playing, because I grab the whole chord. And I'm I'm not like Charlie Hunter, who can go all over the place and play a full bass line and a chord. So that's kind of my approach, is to grab the root or maybe hit some approach notes and try to approximate the bass line without losing the groove, because it's kind of like your computer processes it's running the better the hardware configured. So for me, that's a lot of practice time to make sure that my brain is not overloaded while I'm trying to think about it. It's a bit like, a drummer. I mean, that's why I have such profound respect for drummers, because they're controlling 4 limbs completely independently and moving and doing fills and tracking all these rhythmic elements, and they can't drop the beat, because a guitar player can flub a note, a singer can go a little flat for a second or forget a word for a second, and the song still kind of works. But if the drummer, and in our case, if that rhythmic element, the groove that we're trying to create without a drummer, falls apart, then the song is just a train wreck. So that's a bit part of it too, is there's a lot of compromises that I make harmonically to make sure that I don't lose track of the rhythm. Same with Sandy. She might sing, when she's not playing percussion, right? You sing differently.
Yeah. Well, I'm primarily a singer. That's my main instrument, obviously. And so I picked up percussion as almost like as a necessity. And now I do notice that I sing lines differently if I'm not remember the lyrics, and keep the melody that I'm singing interesting, not like just straightforward,
Yeah.
Singing with personality. And that's been fun. It's been fun. I mean, it's a fun challenge, and every song that I get to do percussion in is a different challenge for me.
Right, and I was just a couple of things. I was thinking I didn't really finish that. No, not because you interrupted, because I spaced out. I didn't really finish that thought about how. So what would that sound like if I was playing just guitar and we had a bass player and a drummer? I mean, my voicings would be way less full, because you're trying to stay out of the way of the keyboard player and the bass player and find your pocket and find your space in the band context. So that's would be a lot more like. So I'm doing a whole other thing than. It's a whole other thing, right? And so another good example of like, what are some other elements that we might bring in? I was just thinking of Stevie Wonder, and like, what do we do?
Signed, Sealed, Delivered.
Signed, Sealed, Delivered. So that song. So that song goes. I don't know if this is the original key. I can't remember anymore. Do we do it in the original key? So that it's not an E, like a bunch of Stevie Wonder songs are. This one's actually an F. So the chords to that song kind of are F, this F7 in the verse, and then this D minor 7. These are the chords. And then it goes to B flat. Okay, but there's also this horn line. Actually, I mean, everyone's playing it. The bass player's playing it. I mean, lots of elements in the band are playing that line. And so that's an example of listening to the record and going like, what do you really want to hear when you hear this song?
Right.
And so.
Right, that iconic line.
Right? So trying to incorporate. So instead of just going for the intro, you want to play that line. And now the rhythmic approach is I'm trying to approximate in my head the drum groove as I know it or as I remember it. Instead of going so right there, the horn goes. So I'm referencing. I may not be playing harmonically what the horn lines are doing. I'm referencing where the rhythmic displacement is when I do the chord changes. So
Keep that.
So the more of those elements that you can capture from the record, the more it's going to evoke the energy of that song. And I think that's really what is going to set apart the detail in your performance from maybe a less detail-oriented version of that song. The better you can, because that song, yeah, I mean, you're not gonna compete with the original, right?
Yeah.
Like that's Stevie, like you can't top that. But the more of what Stevie and his band did that you can capture and pull into your performance of that song, the more it's going to evoke what people love about that song when they hear it. And that's ultimately the goal, right, is to give people the experience of hearing these songs that we're fans of. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
She says, "Oh my God, talking too much." That's what this is, by the way. This is a Q&A.
wait,
This
you're
is not
talking too much, or we're talking too
this
much?
is this is not a performance stream. This is a
No, I think she means she's talking too much. I think no, you're not. We like people chatting in there.
Oh, I thought you were. Aaron, do you mean we're talking too much or you're talking too much?
I'm a backup singer. You're breakdancing right now? Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, you? No. That's great. Actually, it always helps to drive the chat forward if we have someone in there who's. So you're the cheerleader for chat right now. You're crushing it, Aaron.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Anyone else want to chime in? We love people chatting in the live chat. We want to interact with you guys. If you have questions or comments or a live request or,
Yeah.
tell us how your day is doing.
Yeah.
Tell us how your day is going? Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
I had not had my full cup of coffee yet. So, I mean, another song we're learning right now is one of our friends, and you were talking about how to approach when you know a song so well and you've heard someone you know and love doing it, they wrote it, and you've heard their version of it so much, and then we have a series on our Patreon page called Friendspirations, where we take musical friends of ours and we do an acoustic duo version of one of their songs that we love and appreciate. And sometimes it's hard to get their version out of your head because you love it so much. But yeah, right now we're learning a Nick Crook song.
Yeah, there's a song. So this one's a really great example of something. I was thinking about the idea of echolocation for some reason. Not because bats are topical right now. but no. But so I was thinking about what takes a song, like we were talking earlier about how learning the chords and the melody and the lyrics are really just phase one of a multi-part process of learning to really effectively communicate a song. It's the same, by the way, just as in when you write your own songs. It's the same, like when you write it at first, getting your first draft out is one step, and getting that and revision is its own process. And once you kind of know how it is supposed to go, then you have to learn to play the song you wrote, which sounds a little funny, but usually you're writing it and you're sketching it first, and then you start painting it in and go, well, what if I did this here, or what if I substituted this chord here? Would it evoke this feeling a little more effectively? And then sometimes, for us, we bring it to a band. Mm-hmm. Segue.
Yeah.
we bring it to our songs to like a big part of our creative process is when it hits the band and they start doing things to it. That's really when the song starts to come to life. And you're learning, you're really learning and getting to know the song there. And then you create this arrangement or something cool happens, your drummer puts in something you would have never thought of, or accents a beat that you didn't think of, your bass player does some inversion that you wouldn't have thought of, keyboard player thinks of some delay or some space that something needs, or goes, stay on the one chord, don't go here. All these little things come together, and they're just ideas when they're tossed out, and then you run the song or you run that section, you go, that's right. Now the whole band has to decide, okay, that's canon, and now we have to learn it that way. So it's a multi-step process, and there's parts of songwriting that aren't that different from learning a cover.
Right.
Right.
And it's constantly changing and evolving. Even if you think you're done with learning a song or writing a song, you bring it to the band, and they along with you help you actually kind of like hone it in and make it something that everyone that is playing it in the band is like happy with and proud of.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it really does. I mean, it unequivocally makes the songs better.
Yeah.
Like objectively better songs than they were, because you put your thing on it, and when you get that many creative minds working together, all with different influences and different experiences and different idiosyncrasies, it's something you couldn't have even come up with on your own.
Well, yeah, and hopefully that's because you have either chosen or fallen into a circumstance where your band is comprised of people that are better than you, that you respect, that you appreciate musically, and that's exactly our situation. We absolutely appreciate our band is like, most of KTP. Like, yeah, we are, it's our band, but like we would not have the songs we have. And Josh, they're Josh's band too, for Joshua Taylor Music, and he, I'm sure you feel the same way, but you wouldn't have your songs wouldn't be what they are without them.
We're psychic for Aaron. We're answering all the questions.
That's great.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm sorry. That was I took a little detour there, but I thought that was cool, right?
It is a good segue into what I really wanted to talk about at the end of the stream here.
Yeah. So we'll circle back to the importance of our band to us before we close.
Unless we have other questions now. I mean, we can.
Well, there was actually we were on the way to something else. Yeah.
Sorry.
We were talking.
I got distracted.
We were talking about Real Good, Nick Crook song.
Look at me.
So it starts like this. I'll take this. No, it doesn't. I'll take the side road and pick up the new condition. You never minded my habit for self-reflecting. No, I messed it up just now. I'll take the side road and pick up the new condition. You never minded my habit for self-reflecting. No. Pass off the bottle and tell our tales and stories. We've heard this one before, but you could never bore me, no. Told me all the way through late nights, early days, the smiles you breathe to life is just enough to change the world and show me all the things I could be. They could ask and we would only say we've got a real good thing. So, first off, it's a badass song, and it's really, really hard to get Nick's voice and style out of your head because it's so unique. And But that's part of learning a song, and I mean, you hear I'm still messing it up. It's because the melody of that song is actually, I don't know if the complicated is the right word, but it's very distinctive.
Acrobatic
It's acrobatic. The melody of that song follows those chord changes so closely that it's a lot of movement, a lot of like very precise melodic movement in that song. And so what I mean by echolocation is that the first thing is that some songs are harder to learn than others. It doesn't mean they're better songs, it's just they're harder to learn. And you have to sort of get it into muscle memory, like driving, where like if you had to think every time you go to the grocery store, when you're not sheltered in place, every time you go to the grocery store, if you had to think about how much like pressure to apply to the gas pedal and how to like put on a blinker. Like that's like when you first learned to drive. That would be overwhelming if every time you went to drive, you had to consciously think of every little thing. It becomes automatic with practice, and that's kind of how you have, no matter how long you play music, each new song, you have to get it there. But what you're using is the way the original artist interpreted it, the way the songwriter interpreted it, as sort of an echolocation to cast about and show you the outline and the form of that song. They're mapping the contours for you so that later you can start to put your thing on it, but you're not using an incomplete or kind of half-assed picture of the song. You're not going, oh, okay, that just goes here and here and here.
Right.
You're using the most detailed map you can in your head of what makes the song what it is, so that when you do reinterpret it, it's with care and detail and respect for the source material.
Right. And a part of that is, well, because I'm a vocalist, I'm going to obviously focus on this, but it's hearing the actual voice, like the way Nick his vocal tone and the way he phrases things and the way he pronounces words when he's singing. It's hard to get that out of your head and do your own pronunciation and your own phrasing, you know, but you have to sing it the way that not have to, but I have to learn it exactly the way that he does it and sing it and say the words the way he does for the first 10 times I sing it, and then I can allow myself, like you said, it's in there, it's automatic, and then you can kind of like stray just to put your little touch on it. And that's where the sweet spot is. You don't want to overdo that, and you don't want to stay too close to what his version is and just do a copy, you know, and just sound just like him, but you also want to honor it because he's a friend of ours. Every song you want to honor, but specifically our friends. We love them and we appreciate their music so much. That's why we want to do these songs.
I mean, you probably can think of examples of songs you've heard covered that you're like, that doesn't really evoke the song. And sometimes that's cool. Sometimes that's a really neat, like the artist who's covered the song has decided deliberately to depart from the original, but it needs to be done with care. I think that's just my opinion. That if you're going to depart from the source material significantly, you need to do it with some kind of care and understanding for where that comes from. There's a really good example. There's a band called Scary Pockets that I'm sure some of you have heard of. That is this kind of insane rhythm section that invites a lot of guest singers. That gives me quite a bit of Wolfpack. Mm-hmm. But Scary Pockets has all these collaborators that sing these iconic songs that we all know, but they've rearranged the songs. And actually, Lauren Lee's band, Low Keys, does that really effectively with Top 40. I mean, it's a big part of what's cool about how they function in the cover world. Is they kind of do that thing, which is like, let's put our thing on it. But the licks, the little iconic things, the little horn lines or the little, they're still in there. They're just rhythmically displaced, or there's a new groove, or there's a reharmonization of the way a song, I wish I could play an example right now, but if you check out Scary Pockets and listen to how they cover songs, and that you'll see, I think you'll understand whether or not you have the like musical vocab to say it the way the like with any kind of lingo, you'll hear it. That's the point, right? You'll hear what I'm talking about, that they incorporate the original elements of those songs into their really dramatic kind of reimaginings of those songs. Anyway, but that's what I mean by echolocation. That's like you're sort of like looking for clues as to what the fundamental elements of a song are. Do you need to hear is it this sound or is it this sound? Is it is this a loud, or do you have to stay really fixed to that thing? They're the same chord. They belong to the same family, but you've got those are little examples of. Sorry, I'm such a nerd for this stuff. I'm kind of venturing off. Anyway, that's it. That's our approach.
Yeah.
To learning new music.
So I think we're gonna wrap it up here. Unless anyone who is watching has any questions they want to fire away at us, I would like to mention, I know we talked about bringing our band back into this discussion. We are doing a special streaming show this Saturday on the 11th, April 11th. We're calling it We Get By with a Little Help from Our Friends. And 100% of tips or donations from that show are going to go to our band that we were talking about earlier. Josh Weinstein, Harley Maxino, and Tony Econom. That's our keyboard player, bass player, and our drummer, and Josh's band as well for his music. And we basically have been streaming since everyone's been quarantined and sheltering in place. We've had the luxury and the equipment and the fact that we live together and can do this has made it easier for us to do some streaming shows, and we've had some really great support online from people watching. Trill is whining right now, sorry. What do you need, puppy? We wanted to spread the love a little bit because some people can't do that. They don't have the equipment. They don't have the time. You know, there's child care to think of. There's, they don't have the instruments they've got available to them don't really lend themselves well to putting on a show by themselves. And we just wanted to kind of like show the love for our band because we miss them and love playing with them. And
yeah, I mean that's right. The front person's getting the attention is a tale as old as time, right? So it is important that we recognize, as a music community, those among us who are not positioned to stream as effectively as some others, even though their contributions at the very least are every bit as major as the people out front, usually more important, honestly. But anyway, yeah, that's.
So yeah, that will be this Saturday on our YouTube channel here at 6 p.m. You're on our YouTube channel right now, which you probably, if you're watching this, there is a placeholder for that event in the upcoming live stream. You can set a reminder, or you can just come back on Saturday and hang out with us.
Yeah. There are a couple of questions. Aaron's got a couple of questions. So how long have we been singing and playing together now?
Okay, so since 2015? 2016?
Yeah, it was sort of, so Sandy was on my first record in 2015, and that was like the first time we collaborated musically together, and we started KTP in January of 2016.
Right, okay.
So it's been about 4.5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, close to 4.5 years as this thing.
Yeah.
Let's see, and where can you get some cool hats, glasses, shirts? So unfortunately, we left a bunch of our merch in. So last year we do this recurring gig in Mexico at a place called Rancho La Puerta in Tecate, and it's this really neat experience that we get to stay there for a week and provide music to the guests there. But the last time we were there was a big fire in Tecate, and as we evacuated, we left a bag of our merch there. They're holding it for us, but it's currently there.
Mexico,
so all of our merch is in Mexico right now. And we don't really have, we don't have an online storefront. We haven't had a large enough demand for merch yet to justify that. So our sales are all just like this. Like, hey, can I get a hat? Like you text it or you,
right.
It's their individual requests. So, we'll have some merch at some point in the near future. Thank you for asking, Aaron.
Yeah.
We'll get some and we'll let you know when we have it.
I mean, you are wearing our hat, so
I am.
You're advertising something that people can't technically have right now, but we will have them soon.
The next question is, are you able to do live videos between 9 and 11 p.m. on Fridays so me and my friends can listen? So, go ahead.
PM? Oh yeah, 9 p.m.
So we've experimented with some different times in the first week or two that we were doing these streaming shows before we settled into this regular schedule we have. And this is the one right now that's working for us. There's nothing to say that we won't play with times, but the consistency is important, I think, so people know when they can tune in, those who are available. And these are all archived, so you can always watch them after the fact. But we're always thinking about what the best time is. So thanks for your input there. We'll continue to listen to what people are saying are good times for them.
Yeah, and I think we're playing with Kevin on Friday, aren't we?
That's right.
Yeah, so
5:30?
Yeah, this Friday at 5:30 Pacific time. Our roommate Kevin, he puts on 2 shows a week as well, and he's got one on Friday that we're gonna sit in and hang out and play with him on. So
Yeah.
So we'll post that as well, but that'll be Friday at 5:30 Pacific with Kevin Began.
Yeah. What do you think?
Boom.
Boom. Okay, so while you're here, be sure and subscribe. I'm sorry, I hate to do this, but this is part of it. Be sure and subscribe, and if you want to hit that little bell that lets you get notifications for when we post new videos, you'll see anytime we post new videos or we've got an upcoming live stream. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram if you like. Support artists if you can. All of our streams are listener supported, so any of your contributions you can see below if you feel like it. If you're in a position to do so, we really love and appreciate it. If not, we're really glad to have you anyway. Please come back and keep hanging out with us.
Yeah. We'll see you guys Friday or Saturday or Sunday or next Wednesday or Saturday after that.
Yeah. We'll see you when we see you.
We love you all. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Take care.
Okay. Now Trill can whine at my face. Yeah, she's whining at my feet.